Get out. You weren't invited. My daughter's fiancé screamed at her wedding, the one paid for with my life savings. His smug face twisted when I just smiled, calm and unshaken. I'll leave, I told him. But first, let me introduce you to my special guest, an old friend of yours. The moment he saw who stood behind me, his world shattered. Before we go on, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and drop a comment letting us know where you're listening from. My fork froze mid-air, a piece of meatloaf trembling on its tines. The phone's shrill ring sliced through the quiet evening like a razor. Theron? Oh, I'm so glad I caught you. It was Aunt Nora's voice, bubbling through the receiver, bright and effervescent. I am just over the moon about Violet's wedding tomorrow. My flight leaves at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I still can't decide what to wear. Do you think the navy dress is too much for an afternoon ceremony? The meatloaf slid off my fork and landed with a soft thud. Tomorrow? Wait, Nora. My voice came out steady, controlled. Years in engineering taught me how to mask confusion. What wedding? It's next Saturday. Violet's wedding is next Saturday. The silence that followed was tense, stretched thin. I could hear her breathing, almost feel her realizing something had gone horribly wrong. Oh. Oh my. Her voice fell to a whisper. Maybe I mixed up the dates, though Urban was very specific when he called last week. What exactly did Urban tell you? My chair scraped against the linoleum as I stood, moving to the fridge where Margaret's old calendar still hung. There it was, circled in red ink, my own careful handwriting. April 19th, Violet's wedding. He said the family ceremony would be Saturday, April 12th, at 2 o'clock. Just close family, he said. Very intimate. Then he mentioned a bigger celebration the following weekend, but honestly Theron, I thought that was just the reception. The words on the calendar blurred. Today was Friday, April 11th, tomorrow was Saturday, April 12th, Nora, who else is flying in tomorrow? Well, Urban's parents came yesterday from New York, his cousin from Boston. Oh, and that business partner of his, the tall one with the beard. They're all at the Fairmont in San Francisco. The refrigerator hummed. The warm yellow kitchen light suddenly felt cold and alien. My daughter was getting married tomorrow, and I wasn't invited. Theron, are you still there? I'm here. The words felt foreign in my mouth. Oh honey, I feel awful. I thought you knew. Maybe it was a miscommunication. You know how young people are with their emails and texts. Maybe Violet tried to reach you and it got lost. But I knew better. Violet called me every Tuesday at 7 p.m., sharp. We'd spoken just 3 days ago, and she hadn't said a word about a date change. She talked about final dress fittings, how excited she was for our special day next Saturday. Our special day. The phrase turned bitter in my mouth. Theron, I'm sure there's an explanation. Should I call Violet? Maybe, no. I set the phone down gently on the counter, my hand steady. Thank you for calling, Nora. The click as she hung up echoed through the empty kitchen. I stood there for a long time, staring at my abandoned dinner. The meatloaf was Margaret's recipe, the one she made on quiet Friday nights when it was just us. The plate sat cooling under the light, a single serving that suddenly symbolized my place in the world. I pulled out my phone and stared at Violet's contact. The time difference meant it was only 5 p.m. in San Francisco. Dinner time for her, too. Maybe she was sitting across from Urban right then, talking about tomorrow's ceremony. The one I wasn't invited to. My thumb hovered over her name. The phone rang twice before she answered, her voice bright with polished cheer. Hey, Dad. This is a surprise. How are you, Violet? Aunt Nora just called. She says she's flying in for your wedding tomorrow. The silence that followed lasted exactly 7 seconds. I counted them, my engineer's mind tracking the delay. Dad, it's complicated to explain over the phone. Try me. I have time. I paced the kitchen, sink to table and back. Through the receiver, I heard traffic, the distant pulse of a San Francisco evening. Tomorrow is just a small ceremony with some of Urban's relatives who couldn't make it next weekend. It's not really, it's more of a formality. Our real celebration is next Saturday, just like we planned. A formality? I stopped pacing. You're having 2 weddings and didn't think to tell your father about this formality? It's not 2 weddings, Dad. Tomorrow is just paperwork. A few family members, a quick ceremony. Nothing special. Nothing special enough to include me. Her voice tightened, defensive. It's only Urban's relatives who had scheduling issues. His great-aunt from Maine, some cousins from Boston, people you don't know. I thought it would be awkward for you. I gripped the phone tighter. But Aunt Nora is coming. That's Urban invited her because she knew his grandmother. They had some connection years ago. More silence. I heard her breathing, could almost see her reaching for corporate speak to soften the blow. Look, Dad, I know this is confusing, but the important celebration, the one that matters, is still next Saturday. That's our day. Your day. The day we planned for months. The day I paid $120,000 for. The words hung between us, heavy and true. Every penny of my retirement, liquidated to give my daughter her dream wedding. Dad, please don't make this about money. Then what should I make it about, Violet? From where I stand, it looks like you and your fiancé planned a secret wedding and left me out. It's not secret. It's practical. Urban's family situation is complicated. There are politics you wouldn't understand. Politics. As if I hadn't spent 30 years navigating corporate engineering memos. What I understand, I said, walking to the kitchen window, is that my daughter is getting married tomorrow, and I'm hearing it from her aunt. The real wedding is next Saturday, Dad. That's when I'll wear Mom's necklace. That's when we'll have our dance. That's the day that matters. But her voice sounded hollow, like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. I watched my reflection in the window, an old man holding a phone while his world tilted. I have to go, Violet. My dinner's getting cold. Dad, wait, I ended the call and set the phone down. Outside, porch lights flickered on. TVs glowed blue behind windows. Normal families on a normal Friday night. I wasn't invited to my daughter's wedding tomorrow. The thought circled like drain water, pulling me down. The kitchen felt small, heavy with betrayal. I turned toward the living room, toward the desk where I kept important papers. There was something I needed to see, something that would help me grasp what had just happened. The wedding expense folder sat right where I'd left it 3 months ago, filed between house insurance and medical records in Margaret's old cabinet. My hands shook slightly as I pulled it out, carried it to the coffee table, and spread the papers like evidence. Venue deposit, $15,000. Catering, $28,000. Photography, $8,500. Flowers, $12,000. The numbers marched on, each one a piece of my life: overtime, savings, sacrifice. $120,000. More than I made in 2 years when I started as an engineer. I walked to the kitchen and poured 3 fingers of Margaret's favorite whiskey. The amber liquid glowed. She'd saved this bottle for special occasions. After she died, I'd been saving it for, what? This felt special in its own twisted way. The whiskey burned clean, honest, unlike the conversation I just had. I remembered the January evening when Urban first brought up wedding costs. Snow fell outside. He sat in Margaret's old chair, oozing charm and confidence. I know it's a lot to ask, Theron, he'd said, leaning in with practiced sincerity. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime investment in Violet's happiness. In our family's future. The connections we'll make, the memories. It's an invaluable investment. Family future. He knew which words would work on a lonely widower who only wanted his daughter happy. I'd been so grateful someone wanted to marry her, so relieved she'd found love after disappointing relationships. I signed every check, liquidated every account, no questions. Margaret's photo smiled from the mantel, her eyes bright with the wisdom that guided our 30 years. I lifted the whiskey in a silent toast. Margaret always said, "Theron, don't let people take advantage of your generous heart." I should have listened, I told her picture. But I'd been lonely since she died, hungry for family, so I ignored every red flag. Urban's expensive suits, his business opportunities, the way he never quite met my eyes when talking money. I touched the edge of her photo, grief mixing with something new, determination. The whiskey warmed my chest, loosening thoughts locked tight since Nora's call. If they wanted to humiliate me, if they thought I was a foolish old man who'd accept being discarded after writing the checks, they were wrong. I wasn't the broken widower who funded their wedding. Margaret's memory strengthened me, her voice whispering, "Don't be a doormat. Don't let them use you. Fight back." The wedding documents felt different now, not gifts, but evidence. Urban had played me perfectly, found my weaknesses and exploited them. But he made one mistake, he assumed I'd stay home and take the insult. I folded the papers and put them back. Tomorrow, while my daughter married her manipulator in San Francisco, where would I be? The question hung like smoke. I finished the whiskey and looked at Margaret's photo. Her smile seemed knowing, as if she approved of whatever I was planning. The lamp clicked off, plunging the room into darkness, but my mind was already working, calculating distances, possibilities. By tomorrow evening, Urban Green would learn that Theron Weaver wasn't as weak as he thought. The folders sat closed on the table, but the real accounting was just beginning. Sleep came in fragments, broken by betrayal and half-formed plans. I woke Saturday morning with a clarity I hadn't felt in years, the kind that follows a hard decision. Margaret always said problems seem smaller in daylight, but this one only grew sharper. Coffee dripped into the pot while I made breakfast. 2 pieces of toast, butter, strawberry jam. The kitchen felt different in the morning light, less a place of hurt, more a command center. Through the window, Mrs. Patterson watered her garden, unaware her neighbor's world had shifted overnight. The phone rang at exactly 9 a.m. unknown number. Los Angeles area code. Mr. Weaver. The voice was measured, professional. "My name is Winfield Elliott. I'm a private investigator calling from Los Angeles." I set my coffee down, alert. "I'm sorry, I didn't hire a detective." "No, sir. But we share a mutual interest in Urban Green. I believe I have information about your future son-in-law that would surprise you." The toast cooled on my plate. "What kind of information?" "The kind not suited for phone discussion." "Mr. Weaver, can you fly to Los Angeles today?" "I have a 4 p.m. slot available." My mind calculated, Chicago to LAX. 4 hours. Morning flight, afternoon arrival. Why should I trust a stranger? Because Urban Green cost me $2 million and nearly ruined my life. Because your daughter is marrying a man who specializes in exploiting trust. And because from what I've learned about you, Mr. Weaver, you don't let injustice slide. His tone, controlled anger, professional resolve, reminded me of myself. An engineer solving a problem. "How did you get my number?" I make it my business to know things about Urban's associates. When I learned about the wedding financing, I realized we might help each other. I reached for Margaret's pen, found paper. "What's your address?" "Wilshire Boulevard, Suite 1247. The Meridian Building. Downtown. Easy from LAX." "And you're suggesting?" "That we meet. That I show you documentation. That perhaps we ensure your daughter understands who she's marrying before it's too late. Before it's too late hung between us." Today was Saturday. The secret wedding was hours away. Tomorrow might be too late. Then I remembered Violet's words, "The real wedding is next Saturday." Maybe it wasn't too late. "Mr. Elliott, I'll be there." "Excellent. And Mr. Weaver, don't mention this to anyone." "Not yet." The line went dead. I stared at the address, my handwriting shaky from coffee and adrenaline. 2 hours ago, I was a betrayed father with only anger. Now I had an appointment with a private investigator who claimed to have evidence on Urban. I pulled out my laptop and searched for flights. Chicago to Los Angeles, morning departure. The 11:20 a.m. would land me at 1:45 p.m. perfect for a 4 p.m. meeting. My credit card was saved. 3 clicks, and I had a boarding pass. The taxi pulled up to a modest glass building on Wilshire Boulevard at 3:45 p.m. I'd spent the flight staring out the window, imagining what evidence a PI might have. Nothing prepared me for reality. Winfield Elliott's office was professional but not luxurious. Filing cabinets, a worn desk, a computer, manila folders. He was tall, maybe 6 feet 2 inches, with a trimmed beard and direct eyes that read people for a living. "Mr. Weaver, thank you for coming." His handshake was firm. "Please, sit." "Coffee? Water?" "Coffee's good." "Long day." He poured from an old pot, handed me a cup, then sat with a thick folder. "Before we start, what do you know about Urban's business?" "Fintech, crypto. Disrupting banking." The buzzwords felt hollow now. Winfield nodded grimly. "Crypto flow. That was our startup. Our partnership began 2 years ago with what I thought was a legitimate opportunity." He opened the folder and spread documents, bank statements, legal papers, emails, the wreckage of a partnership gone wrong. Urban Green stole $2 million from me and the intellectual property for crypto flow. The tech, the business model, the strategy, all developed together. But at launch, I was frozen out. I leaned forward, examining the papers. As an engineer, I understood contracts, IP, finances. The story was clear: systematic theft disguised as strategy. Why not take him to court? I did. 18 months, another $250,000 in legal fees. Urban's lawyers found loopholes. He'd planned it from the start, crafted contracts that seemed fair but had escape clauses. An email chain caught my eye, Urban discussing exit strategies weeks into the partnership. He'd planned to steal from day one. So technically, it wasn't illegal. Technically, no. Morally, absolutely. But courts don't prosecute moral bankruptcy. I studied a photo, Urban at a tech conference, accepting an award for innovation. Same confident smile I'd seen in my living room. Same charm that convinced me to liquidate my savings. CryptoFlow is now worth about $15 million, Winfield continued. Built on my tech, my research, my connections. Urban poses as the visionary, but he's profiting from theft. And now he's marrying my daughter. With your money financing the wedding. Yes, I'm aware. Afternoon light slanted through the blinds. I thought of Violet, probably getting ready for her secret ceremony, trusting a man who'd destroyed the person across from me. So what are you proposing, Mr. Elliott? Exposure. Public revelation of who Urban really is. Tomorrow's wedding, the official ceremony, is the perfect opportunity. A room full of people, including his business associates, who'd love to know his past. You want to ruin my daughter's wedding? I want to save your daughter from marrying a con artist. Sometimes the truth is inconvenient, Mr. Weaver, but it's still the truth. I set my cup down, decision clear. What do you need from me? Winfield smiled for the first time. Access. Credibility. Someone who understands Urban Green can't keep destroying lives. Outside, traffic hummed. Inside, 2 wronged men formed an alliance. The evidence between us was ammunition. Tomorrow, at my daughter's wedding, we'd ensure Urban faced consequences. When do we leave for San Francisco? I asked. Hotel breakfast never tasted so purposeful. Winfield and I sat in the Union Square Marriott's restaurant at 10 a.m., surrounded by tourists and business travelers. Our conversation focused on strategy. The wedding starts at 2 p.m. When do we make our move? After the ceremony, before the reception. Everyone relaxed, celebrating, guards down. Maximum audience, maximum impact. He'd flown up from LA the night before. We traveled separately to avoid attention, though I wasn't sure from whom. Urban didn't know we were coming. First task, attire. My travel clothes weren't fit for a high-end wedding confrontation. Nordstrom provided the solution. The salesman guided me to charcoal gray suits. This one fits perfectly, sir. Special occasion? Yes. A very special wedding. The suit felt like armor. Margaret would have approved. While I dressed, Winfield did more detective work. We met at noon outside the Fairmont. He carried a leather document case, professional and ominous. Reconnaissance, he explained as we watched wedding preparations. Florists, catering trucks, and expensive production. $120,000, I murmured, watching my money become Urban's perfect day. Soon to be his most expensive mistake, Winfield replied. We found a coffee shop with a view, ordered espresso, watched guests arrive. Urban's family in expensive clothes, business associates in tailored suits, people who'd appreciate learning they'd associated with a fraud. Remember, Winfield said, we enter calmly. No drama. The facts will speak. What if Urban has us removed? He won't. Too many witnesses. Once people hear, they'll want more. The afternoon crept toward confrontation. We returned to our rooms to prepare. Meet at 1:30 p.m. for the walk to the Fairmont. I showered, dressed carefully, studied myself in the mirror. The man looking back was older but determined. The past 24 hours had changed something in my expression. I no longer looked like a victim. At 1:25, my phone buzzed. Ready. Meet in lobby. I collected my key, checked my appearance, headed to the elevator. In 30 minutes, Urban's facade would crumble before everyone who mattered. The lobby was busy. Winfield stood near the concierge desk, document case in hand, a professional delivering justice. Time to go, he said simply. We walked 4 blocks to the Fairmont in silence. 2 men who understood the weight of what came next. The San Francisco afternoon was clear and bright. Cable car bells, tourists enjoying a perfect day. Perfect for a wedding. Perfect for a reckoning. The doorman held the door open. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Here for the Greenweaver wedding? Yes, I replied, stepping into the elegant lobby where my daughter would marry a man unaware his past was catching up. Evening light gilded the Fairmont's facade as Winfield and I approached the last block. We'd spent the afternoon in quiet preparation, dinner, strategy review, the calm before action. Now, at 7 p.m., the wedding reception peaked. The scene justified every dollar of my investment. Luxury cars curved around the drive. Women in designer gowns, jewelry sparkling. Men in tuxedos escorting them through brass doors. Quite the spectacle, Winfield observed. Your money's working hard tonight. Every dollar from my pension. The words were bitter. And they didn't want me here. Through the windows, we saw the ballroom, crystal chandeliers, guests moving, warm glow of celebration. Live music drifted out, a full orchestra. As we neared, the scale overwhelmed. This wasn't a modest family event. It was a society gathering to impress Urban's associates. 300 guests, dressed for success. The doorman stepped forward, dignified. Good evening, gentlemen. Your invitations? I'm the bride's father. This is my special guest. The doorman's expression shifted subtly. Of course, sir. The reception is in the grand ballroom. I hope you enjoy the celebration. Inside, marble gleamed. Photographers moved through guests. The air sparkled with champagne and perfume. Winfield stayed slightly behind as we approached the ballroom, letting me lead while he observed. The sound grew: laughter, conversation, clinking crystal, music. Then we entered. The sight stole my breath. Chandeliers, ivory silk tables, elaborate floral arrangements. A dance floor full of couples moving to a 12-piece orchestra. But it was the number of people that struck me. 300 guests, celebrating my daughter's marriage to a man who'd stolen millions from my companion. At the head table, I spotted Violet in white silk and pearls, radiant, laughing at something Urban whispered. There she is, I murmured, pride mixing with bitter knowledge. Then, across the room, Urban's eyes found mine. His champagne glass froze. His face shifted, confusion, recognition, shock, panic. Even from 50 feet, I saw him pale. He said something sharp to Violet, his head turning as if looking for security or escape. But there were too many people, too public a setting. Instead, he moved through the crowd toward us, expression hardening into the aggressive confidence I remembered from our living room talks about money. Urban's approach was like swimming against a current. His tuxedo was perfect. His smile camera-ready. But his eyes held panic. He weaves between tables, pausing for quick nods and forced smiles. I watched him calculate how to handle this without a scene. When he reached us, his voice was too loud. "What are you doing here? You weren't invited." Nearby conversations faltered. Eyes turned our way. "Hello, Urban," I replied, voice level. "I see the party's in full swing." His face flushed. "Get out now before I call security. That would create a memorable moment for your associates." I gestured to the crowd. "Though I'm not sure that's the reputation you want." Urban's eyes darted around. The music continued, but the energy shifted. People noticed something interesting at the entrance. "I'm leaving soon," I continued, enjoying my calm advantage. "But first, meet my special guest, an old friend." "What friend?" His voice cracked. "What are you talking about?" I turned, letting him see Winfield clearly. The detective stood with professional patience, portfolio at his side, expression neutral but watchful. Urban's reaction was immediate. His face went from red to pale. Eyes widened with recognition and terror. "No," he whispered. "That's not possible." "Winfield Elliott," I said, as if introducing friends. "I believe you two have catching up to do." Urban stepped back, bumping into a waiter. Glass shattered. "You're insane. That's ancient history. Settled years ago. Ancient history for you." Winfield opened his portfolio with theatrical precision. "For me, it's $2 million stolen and a partnership destroyed by fraud. Time doesn't heal theft, Urban." Violet's head turned between them. $2 million? She repeated, voice sharpening. "What $2 million? Winfield laid out documents, bank statements, contracts, emails on a nearby cocktail table. "Your husband and I were partners in CryptoFlow. I developed the tech, business model, funding. Urban was to handle marketing and investors. Instead, he transferred assets to his accounts, filed new papers excluding me, launched as if he'd created it alone." Urban shook his head frantically. "None of that's true. Winfield is a disgruntled ex-partner." But Violet was already examining the documents. I watched her face as she read, saw her intelligence processing the truth. "This shows a $2 million transfer," she said slowly, finger tracing a line. "From CryptoFlow to Urban's personal account. Fabricated." Urban lunged toward the table. "Those are altered." Winfield stepped between him and the evidence. "Every document verified by forensic accountants and federal investigators. Your husband is a thief, Mrs. Green, and you've been funding his lifestyle with stolen money." Around us, guests formed a circle. Music stopped. 300 people watched the collapse of the social event of the season. Violet picked up a partnership agreement with Urban's signature. "This is your handwriting," she said to him, voice barely audible. "I've seen you sign contracts." Her hands trembled, but her voice held steady. The ballroom was so quiet I heard fabric rustle as guests leaned in. "Urban, what is this?" She pointed to a clause. "It says you appropriated company assets worth over $2 million. Explain." Urban's desperation peaked. Sweat stained his shirt. "Charm gone. That's out of context. Winfield is bitter because his ideas weren't viable. I saved the company with decisive action." "Saved it?" Winfield's composure held. Here's the email chain where you discussed your exit strategy with lawyers. Notice the dates. This was planned from the start. He handed Violet printed emails. I watched her scan them, expression cooling. These emails are from our second month, Winfield continued. Urban was planning to steal while pretending to collaborate. This can't be real. But doubt crept into Violet's voice. Urban, tell me these are fake. They're out of context. Business is complicated. Sometimes you make hard decisions. Like transferring $2 million to your personal account? Her voice carried across the silent ballroom. Like filing papers that cut your partner out? I felt pride watching my daughter's mind cut through deception. This was the intelligence I tried to protect, the sharp thinking that made her successful, yet missed the warnings about her fiancé. Violet, don't listen. Urban grabbed her shoulders. This is a conspiracy. Your father set this up because he's jealous. She shook him off and looked at me. Dad, did you know? I learned 2 days ago, I said simply. When Winfield called. And you flew to San Francisco to ruin my wedding? I flew to protect you from a man who destroys those who trust him. Just then, Margaret and Wilbur Green pushed through the crowd, faces outraged. Urban, what is this disruption? Margaret's voice could cut glass. Who are these people making accusations? Mother, not now. But Winfield turned to them with courtesy. Mr. and Mrs. Green, I'm Winfield Elliott, private investigator. Your son stole $2 million from me and destroyed my business. Wilbur drew himself up. Preposterous. Urban is a successful entrepreneur with an impeccable reputation. Built on theft and fraud. Winfield gestured to the evidence. CryptoFlow, his so-called success, was built on technology and capital he stole from me. Violet kept reading, face paler with each page. She looked up, eyes finding mine. My father was right about you, she told Urban, voice heavy with realization. I was blind. Violet, no. Don't let them manipulate you. We have a life, a future. She reached for her left hand, fingers finding the engagement ring that cost more of my money than I wanted to know. A future built on lies and stolen money. I don't think so. She twisted the ring off. It caught the light as she held it out. The diamond glinted before she dropped it. It hit the marble with a click, rolling to rest beside the evidence. The wedding is cancelled, Violet announced, voice reaching every corner. Thank you for coming, but there's nothing left to celebrate. Urban lunged forward, clumsy with desperation. Violet, don't make the biggest mistake of your life. Without me, you'll never achieve anything. You need me. She stepped back, dress flowing like armor. I already made my mistake, Urban. It was trusting you. The ballroom erupted in whispers. Some moved to support Violet, others gathered belongings. Urban's parents flanked him, faces shamed. Margaret's composure cracked. Urban, is this true? Did you steal? It's all lies. Business complications. But Winfield closed his portfolio. Mission accomplished. The evidence speaks. Your son is a thief who nearly destroyed another family like he did my business. This is a setup. Urban's voice turned hysterical. You're all conspiring. Wilbur grabbed his arm with force. We're leaving before you embarrass us further. As the Greens retreated through the crowd, Urban turned back. You'll regret this. You'll come crawling back when you see what you've lost. What I've lost, Violet replied, voice steady, is my illusions about you. And I'm grateful. They disappeared through the doors, leaving silence that felt heavy and clean. I approached my daughter slowly, unsure of my welcome. She stood among evidence and rose petals, looking young but strong. Sweetheart, I said softly. I'm sorry it happened like this. She looked up, tears streaming but relieved. No, Dad. Thank you for opening my eyes. Her voice broke. I owe you the biggest apology. You tried to warn me, and I wouldn't listen. I opened my arms, and she stepped into them like she had as a little girl. I love you, Violet. That's all that matters. I love you too, Dad. I'm sorry I didn't trust you. Over her shoulder, I saw Winfield collecting his documents, ready to fade away. Mr. Elliot, I called. Thank you. Justice has been served. He smiled warmly. Now he can't deceive anyone else. That makes it worthwhile. The ballroom emptied around us, guests leaving with respectful quiet. But holding my daughter, surrounded by the remains of a wedding that wasn't meant to be, I felt something I hadn't in years, complete vindication. Margaret would have been proud. Her husband protected their daughter, exposed the truth, brought justice to a man who exploited trust. The $120,000 was expensive, but the education was priceless. Urban Green faced consequences. Violet was free. If you liked this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.